Listener, are you ready for some delicious pro-aging insights and advice? I am too. Joining me is Ray Martin, also known as the Daily Explorer. He's an entrepreneur and award-winning business leader, an accredited master executive chef, a global citizen, and the author of Life Without a Tie. Ray traded in the corporate grind for a life filled with purpose, freedom, and adventure, and he's here to share what that transformation taught him about aging, identity, and living fully on your own terms. If you've ever wondered what it takes to live life fully expressed, this conversation is for you, so let's glow. Welcome to Don't Be Caged by Your Age, Ray. I'm so happy you're here to share your insights and wisdom to help folks thrive after 65. How you doing?
Doing very well. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Well, who wouldn't want to be living a life where they are on their own terms and on purpose and feeling unshackled from the daily grind? I mean, this is so exciting. But before we get going, we love to age out loud and proud here on the podcast. So please let folks know your age and where you live.
I am 65 and I live on the edge of London, like about 30 minutes away by train from London.
Nice. Wonderful part of the world. So, Ray, your journey from business leader, and especially entrepreneur, to global citizen, author, and master executive coach is so inspiring. I mean, you had to make some big decisions there. And I am sure that there were some key turning points that led you to walk away from the corporate world and embrace life without a tie. Let's talk a little bit about those pivotal moments that left you feeling, okay, I'm done. I'm out. I'm doing something different.
Gosh, that's so hard to sum up in one sentence because for me, it was a gradual process of recognition. But some of the key moments would be, well, first of all, there was a decision to sort of launch my own business when I was in my early 30s. And I left an organization where I was employed with my girlfriend at the time, who had a very similar vision. And we launched a business together, a consulting firm, and it was really successful. And we became eventually married, the two of us. So we were running the company together, business partners 50-50 and married. And it was our whole life, like our child was our business, let's say.
Oh my gosh. I did that for a minute with a .com with my husband. And I got to tell you, thank goodness for good couples counseling.
Yeah. So we had 10 absolutely brilliant years. And I wanted to build a business I felt proud of. That was my real ambition. And one that someone would walk into and see us all living the principles we espoused and could see we're really walking our talk. So in 2002, I was given the Daily Telegraph's Business Leader of the Year award for being CEO of the company. And it was my peak moment, in that particular chapter. But behind the scenes, my life wasn't in such good shape, and my marriage was difficult in some ways. And about 6 months after that award was given, when I was getting lots of accolades in the press and lots of acknowledgement from the public, my wife came back from a meeting and said, "I'm leaving you and I'm leaving the company." It was really sudden. It was really shocking. It was non-negotiable, and I didn't see it coming. And it was like being stabbed in the stomach. It was horrible. And at the same time, my father got very ill with a heart problem, and he died shortly afterwards. And so within about 3 or 4 months of that life that was so good, quotes, I was out of my house. The company was changing. My dad had gone, and my marriage was over, and it was just too much to bear. It was awful. I had the worst year of my life following all of those events. Very low, very dark. Couldn't see any future happiness. And that was really what started me deeply reflecting on what had happened and wanting to get to some truth of this and understand it from a wise point of view, what had happened, so I didn't repeat the same things later. So that was probably the key moment. That was in about 2003 that series of events happened.
As we say here in Boston, that was wicked smart of you to want to step back and say, why did this happen? So I sure as heck don't go down this road again, because there is nothing like being hit out of left field when you didn't consciously see it. I'm sure there were signs, and you probably learned those signs and what those were internally, but you were focused on achieving. And, when when the male of our species is focused on that singular point,
Yes.
you're brilliant at making it happen. And many
Yeah.
women take on that side of themselves to help make that happen in their lives too. But it does get you hyper-focused.
It does. It does. And it was what I'd learned, been taught as a school kid, to be happiness. You want to be happy in life. You get a really good career, good work, buy a house, get kids. And all of this equals happiness. So I'd followed that off-the-shelf life story, let's call it. And I'd put my ladder up against the wall and climbed it to the top energetically to get to the top of the wall and go, hang on a minute, this is not the right wall. I've climbed the wrong wall for me. This is not actually what I wanted.
Well, I, of course, being the optimist that I am, I see that as, oh my gosh, you were in your early 40s when this happened?
43, 44.
Yeah, isn't that brilliant?
Yeah.
Because so many people get to the end of their life and they're like, ruh-roh, what was I thinking? But we get these memos that tell us this is what success looks like. So you best be going in this direction. And I love that you got to the top of your ladder and looked around and went, ruh-roh, this is not where I need to be.
Yeah.
And so how did you shift? And what did life start to look like after that?
Well, what it started to look like was friends could see I was in turmoil after all this. And one of them said, why don't you take a 6-month sabbatical? Which I laughed at first. I thought it was a silly idea. But as events unfolded, I thought, actually, there's some wisdom to that. That would be quite a good thing. So I decided to sell the house that I had in London so I could minimise down to a smaller home. But I thought I'll wait 6 months until I've done a sabbatical and then I'll come back with fresh eyes and fresh way of looking at things, and I'll find a new place and I'll start a new business or something. I wasn't sure. But I knew I needed some new insight into life and a new way of looking at things. And I don't know if you've come across it, Andy, but there's a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bronnie Ware. It's a very famous book.
Oh, I'm going to get that for the bookshelf.
Tens of millions of people have read this book. She's a hospice nurse in Australia. Her name's Bronnie Ware. Yeah. So she only talks to people in the last days and weeks of their life. And she writes in the book that she says, I ask every person the same question, what do you most regret about your life? She said they all say the same 5 regrets. It doesn't matter whether they were a millionaire or a janitor. It doesn't matter what their station in life was. It's always the same 5. Number 1 regret. What do you think that was?
Not pursuing dreams.
Exactly. The way she worded it was, I wished I'd lived my life true to myself and not the life that others expected of me. Right. And so it suddenly dawned on me in that minute, okay, I'd not been living my life true to myself. As I was very competent at this untrue life, but it wasn't my life. And I thought, I wonder what my life would be if I was true to myself. I didn't know the answer. So the 6 months sabbatical became a kind of quest to answer the question, what does living life true to myself look like and feel like for me? I'm going to find that out.
Right.
I'm going to go and get new inputs, new data. I'm going to get new insight. That's what I'm going to do.
Oh, so you stayed curious. You became an explorer. As someone who's been unemployable since 1992, I have a deep appreciation for the fact that we set ourselves up to live a certain life. And I was fortunate in the sense that life showed me, you're not doing this anymore. And I was like, thank God, and had businesses of my own ever since, but really was unemployable. I had tried to find work after that, but nobody hired me. I wouldn't even get like an interview. But what that does is it forces you to really think about, well, how do I want to be in the world? Who do I want to become?
Yeah.
And how do I want to navigate life through this lens?
Yeah.
And so talk a little bit about that, because I think it's the gist of your book.
Yeah, exactly.
Life Without a Tie.
And that's what it became, because I let go of the tie of the businessman. I decided I'd had enough. Tony Robbins is a brilliant coach. And in one of his books, he says, you're not just the actor in your story, you're the director and the scriptwriter too. And so if you are not happy with your life, you can change the character you're playing, or you can change the script, or you can change the whole scene. You can kill off the series.
The whole movie and book is yours.
And so I decided to kill off the series of Ray the Businessman, because I just thought I'd done that my whole life. I was sort of typecast like David Schwimmer in Friends, as Ross.
Right.
I didn't want to be Ross my whole life. I thought this is a good opportunity to do it and find out what's next. So I went to Asia and started to become immersed in the culture in Thailand. Was where I was to begin with, and I was primarily a tourist, to be honest. But what I noticed was that although I was in a very relaxed place and dressed in shorts and a t-shirt and flip-flops, and I had no targets or goals or obligations to anybody, so I should have been quite relaxed, I noticed I was very tense and anxious most of the time. And that's because my mind was working overtime. I was frightened about the future, scared about where it was all going to lead, nowhere potentially. I felt a lot of guilt and shame about being a rubbish husband who'd been left.
Sure.
I had all this noise going on. And I met someone about 4 or 5 months into my 6-month sabbatical who could see me in this state. And he said, have you ever thought of doing a meditation retreat? A Vipassana meditation retreat. It's a 10-day retreat.
Yes. Yeah.
And I said, no, I never heard of that. Well, tell me about it. And as he talked about it, I could feel my body tingling with I just knew there was something in what he was saying that was right for me. It's like, it's what I now call my inner wisdom was hearing it. I didn't think of it like that back then, but I do now. My inner wisdom or intuition was picking up on this, and I thought, I need to do that, even though it sounds crazy, because I'd never been silent for 10 minutes, let alone 10 days.
Oh my gosh. And this is so powerful to know, because we have these opportunities to dive deeper into ourselves where our ego isn't running the show, or our different parts of our body and minds aren't running the show. So often when we're doing something that feels risky to a part in ourselves, it'll be like, no, you can't be doing this. This is not what the memo said. We have to be over here doing all of these things. Correct. Or the shame, the Eeyore, so to speak, really feeling sad about how we have been in our lives and not understanding that this is the human journey in all its glory. And these are the events that have to happen to help us tap into who we, again, want to become. So you went to the retreat, and was it silent, or was meditation, or how did that flow?
Well, it's silent meditation, but 1 hour each day we would be called to the meditation hall, and one of the monks would give a talk about the Buddhist teachings in English, but it was a one-way talk, so we couldn't speak or ask any questions, or we just listened. And that was the only time we heard voices, really.
And what did you discover after you were there for the 10 days? How did it serve you, and how was it a launching pad for where you went next?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Well, a couple of things happened. I'd say how I felt, because that will indicate a lot, I think, to people listening. If I'd had a volume knob, or literally a physical knob on the side of my head, when I went into the monastery, that was turned up to 10 out of 10. Noise, overpowering noise of my thinking over my present state. And when I walked out, I'd say that volume had been turned down to about 1 out of 10.
Wow.
I'd say not naught, because you can never switch your mind off the narration it provides constantly 24/7. It's never going to stop. But what I'd learned was how to redirect my awareness and attention to other parts of myself, so that noisy thinking wasn't so distracting, and I could somehow became friends with that noisy thinking, and I could sort of see it objectively and say, "Oh, it's you're back. Hello, voice. You're back. What do you want? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not going to listen to you that much today. I'm meditating. I'm sorry."
And the beauty of a good retreat is that it gives you the ability and the tools to understand that you can be the observer of those thoughts.
Correct.
And you can be seeing them going by and going, oh, yeah, I recognize you. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
You're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. And I got this. And wow, I mean, I started taking a deep breath and relaxing just hearing the story.
Yeah, exactly. The breath is so brilliant. It's such a great reset,
It really is. And it doesn't take much to do that. And so you got on the other side of that, and you were like, wow, this is a whole new Ray I'm learning.
A whole new way I'm learning. And it was like my 6 months was up, and I thought, you know what? I'm not ready to go back to my old life. And, I didn't have to, because I didn't have children when I got divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have any stuff left because I sold it or got rid of it all before I went. I sold my house. And so it was really nothing to have to rush back for. And so I thought, I'm just going to carry on with this journey for a while longer. I'm going to find a meditation group that I can join and do regular meditation, develop my mindfulness practice, because that was the part of my life that was exciting for me. And so I joined a Sangha in a place called Chiang Mai, which was in the Plum Village tradition. Thich Nhat Hanh is a Zen Buddhist monk.
Right.
And started to meditate weekly with this group. And then I started to get involved with things going on more in that community. And I came across things like an elephant sanctuary near Chiang Mai where they were rescuing elephants and needed money to run the place. And it was beautiful. And then I went to an orphanage in Nepal in the Himalayas and gave a picnic to 60 orphan kids. And I thought, what could they do if they just had a bit more money? So I was finding things that touched my soul. And I sort of realized that with a little bit of help, these places could flourish. And I was sitting after my meditations often thinking, how could I help them? How could I help them? And one evening, randomly, I met someone for dinner who was a marathon runner. He said, what's it like running marathons? His name was Matt Campbell. What's it like, Matt, running marathons? And when he described it to me, I had the same tingling in my body that I had when someone talked about the Vipassana. I started to recognize that my body has a kind of antennae system that I wasn't aware of, but I was becoming more and more aware of it. And that's become my primary navigation system now. Yeah. But I wasn't aware of it. But I started to notice each time I came across something that aligned with my truth, my body was going off like an alarm clock. And so I said to him, Matt, I'm 48 years old. Do you think I could run a marathon? And he looked at me and he said, well, you do look quite fit, Ray. I'll tell you what, I know where you want to do it. If you decide to live here for 6 months, I will coach you and train you to get on the start line of your first marathon if you want to do that. And I said, okay, deal. I shook his hand and I launched the Calling All Angels Fundraising Foundation myself. And I entered the ballot for the New York Marathon because that was the marathon of my dreams to be in. What? And I got a place in the ballot instantly within a week. And I knew that was a confirmation signal that I was on the right track. And so Matt trained me up and I did it. And I went 1st of November 2009. I went to New York, ran the New York Marathon and raised $15,000 for the orphanage, for the elephant sanctuary and for a cancer charity. And then my next 2 years was deploying that money and getting it spent and using it to make things happen at those places. So suddenly my journey had a life of its own. I wasn't planning it. I was just dealing with whatever was coming.
Well, and you bring up a really good point. We are often trained and programmed and indoctrinated to have very specific goals and to go after those goals instead of letting life lead us by being in curiosity where we need to be. And listeners, you may remember in episode 62, we chatted with Liam Naden, same thing, reached that pinnacle of life and got there and he was so unhappy, miserable, and then lost it all and he was sleeping on his parents' couch before he knew it. But same thing, pulled on the thread and listened and things just started coming to him that were in such brilliant alignment. So like with you, you were able to leverage the decade plus of your consulting business and take that knowledge and have it be for the purpose and benefit of those in need. And that lit your heart up. That made your heart sing with joy.
It really did. And I was very fortunate, I have to say, because I had some savings that I had secured from that career and I wasn't needing to work. After about 6 years, my money was starting to run out and I was needing to work. But at that point, I wasn't.
Yeah, but entrepreneurship taught you how to take action.
Yeah, exactly.
So those of us who are entrepreneurs, we don't get stuck on the hill of what and how do we do this. We just know that once you start, you'll figure it out and then you'll find out, well, that didn't work, but if I did this will make it go smoother. But we're not afraid to take the action and build and launch.
Right. There's a sort of faith that comes in the uncertainty. You just know, I commit to this. It lines up with who I am, my purpose and my values. I know the universe is going to help me figure this out.
Well, and let's talk about how that can be used for someone who has crested 65 and is looking at the possibility. I mean, if you make it to 65, folks, we know from the data, there's a good chance you're going to make it to 90. So what are you going to do with those 25 years? If you look behind you at 65 plus, 25 years that was a lot that happened in those 25 years. So
Yes.
so if you look ahead, you go, wow, what am I going to do and who do I want to be? And most importantly, who do I want to become?
Yeah.
And so you pulled together in Life Without a Tie 14 principles, which, it's so good. I love little checklists, principle 1, 2, 3. That really makes me happy. Talk a little bit about these principles and, what ones surprised you, not only showing up on your list, but surprised you as you began talking about these principles.
Yeah, I think you're probably referring to the guiding principles I set for myself in this
Yes.
just after I did the Vipassana retreat,
Right.
because I realized after doing that retreat that I left England and re-engineered my life financially and
Right.
dealt with all the logistics of being away from home. But I didn't prepare myself psychologically for the transition that I was going to go through.
Which happens to many folks when they're done with their traditional career.
And that was a bit of an oversight, because I suddenly realized that the biggest threat to my well-being was my mental health.
Right.
Not of anything physical. And so I thought, for me to be able to really protect my well-being and mental health, I need to live by some guiding principles that I need to author for myself. So I wrote those just for myself. I put them in the book out of interest for readers, but they really were just for me.
Right.
So the first principle, for example, was self-acceptance. I'm going to live by the principle of self-acceptance, because I'd given myself such a hard time for 6 months since I left England about being not good enough, not kind enough, not smart enough, all these things, that I thought the way I was speaking to myself in my own thinking, if I'd been an actual person who was sharing a house with me and they were speaking to me like that every day, I would have had to kick them out after a couple of days. Right. Because I said, I can't stand this. You're not saying anything at all that's helpful. And so I was allowing myself to speak to myself like that. So I thought, no, I'm going to operate to a principle of self-acceptance and accept that, I've made some mistakes, but I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm improving, and I'm on a journey to mastery, and I will get to mastery.
And you brought up such an important topic for anyone aging well, which is that radical self-love and acceptance, because at this stage and age, we have to do a lot of that with our bodies. Because, I mean, are you still running marathons, Ray?
Half marathons.
Half marathons. But you know that the body starts getting a little twerky and things start happening and aches and pains, or we lose a limb or an eye or hearing, things like that. So we have to go even deeper into radical self-love and acceptance. And so as you began to progress over the years and you continue to raise money for these organizations, is that what you've been doing since 2009?
Partly, but I also work as a leadership coach in the corporate world.
Yeah, and so how did you get training for that?
Well, I was already the CEO of a coaching business when I left. And so I'd done some coaching, but then when I won the Business Leader of the Year award, I had a lot of people reaching out to me personally to say, whatever it is you're doing as a leader, I'd like you to teach me. So I never imagined as a kid I would want to be a coach when I grow up, but clearly I had something that people wanted to hear, because I'd sort of found my own authentic way of leading that seemed to be very well received by the business world, let's say.
Right.
And I think that's now the foundation of a lot of leadership development in the corporate world, which is authentic leadership. It's all about being honest about your truth, admitting you don't know everything, leading through inspiration rather than through command and control, which is the old style.
Right, and getting rid of the mask, showing up as the human you are in your role in the company. So everybody, and then, of course, letting others shine around you and letting them feel emotionally safe around you, because that's the only way innovation survives in a business, is that if you give folks the freedom and safety to experiment and be curious and make mistakes. So I love that you've been able to do this now for, what are you, like 20 plus years, right?
It's since I left 2005. It's now 2020. I've created some ties in my life recently, because I came back to the UK in 2019 after 14 years.
Oh, wow.
And I did that ostensibly to finish the publication of a book about this journey, which came out. But also I had a vision that I created for myself, and I really wanted to created a loving stable partnership, a life partner in my life. I really wanted to create that. And so now I have found and met and am creating a life with my life partner of 2.5 years.
Oh, I'm so
And
happy.
so I'm sort of tied in
Yay.
that way, but it doesn't feel like a tie. It just feels like a joy.
Yes, of course. Having a life partner to share things with and hold on to and support and uplift as they
Correct.
support and uplift you, it's wonderful.
Yeah, so I now, I've got a home. I don't sleep in lots of different hostels and places like I used to. So I'm tied in that way. I'm also, committed. My purpose in life is to be what I phrase it. I'm a torchbearer for greater human consciousness.
Nice.
And I want to spread more joy and happiness in the world. And so I consciously choose to involve myself in the senior leadership world, because I actually think we live at a time where we really need better leaders. Most of the leadership we see on TV is just appalling. It's so bad. It's so horrid.
In fiction as well as nonfiction.
Yeah. And so I think, the only way I could directly affect it is by working with the individual people who want to be principled, authentic leaders and helping and supporting them on their journey. And I'm really willing to do that because the world needs it.
And the beauty of what you're able to do is you're helping folks unlock their potential, helping them reframe what leadership looks like for them, and the ripple effect when you're working in the C-suite like that. The ripple effect is huge, and the impact is so much greater, and so that has to be really rewarding. But let's talk a little bit about the aging process. So as you've gone into, and I know you've evolved in such a way, it's like, what age, right? I doubt that you're caged by your age, but at the same time, we are both in societies that look at age as a permafrost. Like the ambition has died. We no longer need you. Let's get younger people in. It's very youth-centered cultures. How are you navigating that? Because maybe you're not experiencing it, but I imagine some of your clients are.
I do. The waves of those changes do overlap onto my shore for sure. Especially with things like AI and other tech that's coming. And I think, God, I just can't keep up with it all. It's too much. It's fast.
And is there can you share a limiting belief that you have felt that you've bumped up against, which, again, because I love how your brain works now, you're going to sit back and go, and be the observer. Well, isn't that an interesting thought? I wonder where that came from, because we're all going up against unconscious and conscious biases that we've taken on over the decades.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I first started coming back into the world of coaching leaders in business, I'd been out of it for a few years. I had limiting beliefs around, I'm too old. I was 10 years younger, but I was too old. I'm not relevant. My knowledge is obsolete. But I soon discovered through conversations, it was the opposite. It was like what I knew and experienced and understood and the wisdom I had was going to be more relevant than ever in the 10 years ahead, because this is a period of time where people are going to be valued based on their ability to contain these difficult experiences and still show up and lead others and encourage others and support others to grow, no matter what the outside circumstances are. And automation is going to take care of a lot of routine work. So the value in knowing how to get something done isn't valuable anymore. That can be done easily. But in how to engage people's creativity, and how to motivate people, and how to get them to bring their heart and soul to their work, in how to create connection and deal with vulnerability. These are skills that are never going out of fashion, ever.
That's right. It's the connection of being human and connecting with the humanness.
Yeah, correct.
In people that we're negotiating with, walking life with, all of those parts and pieces. And the beauty of our generation and our ages is that we had to do that back in the day. So we have core fundamental skill sets built into us that can help younger generations navigate this versus sending a text. I mean, because we had to pick up the phone. We had to wait for mail to reach somebody. We had to go out into the world and talk to people because we didn't have Zoom. We didn't have video chats. And so we're taking those skill sets and helping others navigate, but also doing something that AI just can't do, and I don't think ever will, which is understanding the unique human that you're speaking with and connecting with at that point in time. and your own humanness. So you got two different entities, right? That a
Yeah.
machine can't understand because
Oh, I love what you're saying. Yeah.
you
I'm
are
totally on that
the
page.
sum of your lived experiences, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
but
is that other person.
what makes you as an individual unique, or me, is that if you look at our core strength dashboard, for want of a better way of describing it, the things that are on that dashboard are your values, what's important to you, your purpose, how you define that, what your vision is of the place you're trying to head for yourself, and
Right.
the picture of life that's unique to you, your empowering beliefs and your limiting beliefs, those are unique to you based on your unique conditioning, your driving forces we all have, like Tony Robbins talks about, these need for recognition, need for variety, security, belonging, etc. And then the last but not least, Sir Ken Robinson used to talk about this a lot, being in your element, what puts you in your element, when your strengths, what you're naturally good at, and your passions, what you really care about, when they collide and you're working in the crosshairs of those two, you're in your element. So on your dashboard, if you can be aligned with all 6 of those things, your life is just going to feel like bliss, and you're never going to feel like you're really working because you're doing what you love.
That's
but
right.
If you feel a bit out of balance, or you're thinking, oh, something's not right, it's because one or more of those 6 elements, one or more of those 6 indicators is not being served, or it's out of alignment. And it gives you a way of checking in with yourself and adjusting where it's needed.
And this is so important because, again, for the listeners who are tuning in, who are often in their late 50s, 60s, and beyond, it's trying to struggle with this period of time stretching out in front of them, which looks nothing like what they just spent the last 40 years doing. And there's this rewiring that has to happen. And I love what you're talking about. I'm an Ikigai fan.
Oh, yeah, I love that too. Yeah, I love Ikigai. Yeah, seen
So
it.
having the understand of how can you fuel your purpose, your passion, and your vocation and your pocketbook. So you come together, and in our age group, it's also managing our energy portfolio.
Yeah.
Meaning, how much time do you want to devote to that? Because the days of the hustle and the grind are behind us.
Yeah.
And that's not how we want to choose to move forward. We want a nice flow of different parts and pieces.
Totally.
In episode 74, Don Auction was talking about how it's like tapas, right? Different small
tapas,
plates.
Yeah,
tapas.
Nice. Yeah.
Small plates in our lives at this age.
Nice metaphor.
But for so many people who haven't had the entrepreneurship background that we have, or the time in Asia to explore, what advice can you give those folks to sort of tune into where they are right now with that radical self-acceptance and love, but also start figuring out or asking the questions, not necessarily solving the problem themselves, but asking the questions of curiosity as the observer and waiting to listen to see what happens, so they can start saying, well, how do I want to take this part of my precious life and live it?
I get you. I mean, to me, where I would always recommend starting is with what vision you have.
Yeah.
And that's hard work to do if you're not used to reflecting on that. And it's difficult and challenging because the mind goes, oh, I don't know how to think about that. I can't do that. Oh, I never think like that.
Well, and vision isn't just like your intellect telling you. It's how do you want to feel vision, right?
Correct. I was about to say, because I asked people, so if you were transported from your life now to what would be your better life, what would feel different? What would look different? What would sound different? And people would say things like, well, I'd feel like part of a team or something. So those are clues. So you write these things down. And so when you're looking at what's coming towards you, you go, if I did that thing there, would I be part of a team, and what kind of team would I be part of? And does that align with the vision? No, it doesn't. So that's a poor choice for me. So for me, it all that's the catalyst that pulls everything together, is where am I? What's my picture I'm trying to head towards?
Right.
And so often people will need a bit of help and support to develop that picture, but it's worth the time because then you've got a compass.
Well, and
everything starts then.
Yeah, and I love this, Ray, because one of the things I did in 2019 was that I came up with a list of, I call them my C's. I wanted to have connection, communication, collaboration, celebration, community,
Nice.
cash/currency.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm leaving something off that list, but I had a list of C's, and those were how I wanted to feel. And it didn't happen right away. I had tapped into it, but I was still heavily into my startup life world, right? It took until 2023, the spring of 2023, when everything came to a jarring halt and I knew I was complete with that section of mentoring startup founders. And what did I want to do differently? And it was like, well, I love podcasting.
Yeah.
And I had
come quite a lot of those C's.
right there.
Connection, community, and all of those in there.
But I was also craving in-person community.
Yeah.
And I looked around, got on Meetup and Eventbrite to look at different events, and I wasn't really finding anything that resonated for me. And so I launched a podcast community. And so we meet every month, and that met all my needs and is actually meeting their needs too, which is lovely.
Yeah, great.
But I didn't plan that. I didn't focus on it's going to be this. Yes. I focused on how I wanted to feel. How am I going to find these things that are in alignment with me?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that as an approach for folks to sort of sit back without having a meditation retreat, right?
Yeah. I mean, I did years ago, I had a reading done by somebody who practiced in a discipline called human design. And you've got different types and profiles. Right. And so if you're a generator profile like me, your advised strategy is to wait and respond to things that come towards you. Right. And if you're a projector or a manifestor, you've got a different response. So what I'm going to say won't fit for everyone, but I've realized over time that I'm in a much better place when I just allow life to flow towards me and I pick and choose what's coming and go, oh, I like the feel of that. Oh no, I don't like the feel of that. Oh, I'll try that. I go like with the marathon or with the fun rate, I just go with the energy. And that's quite a different way of navigating than setting goals,
right.
And then saying I've got these interim targets and I've got to achieve this and I've got to have a house by then and this by then. And it's just a different system, completely different system. They're not compatible almost.
Right. But you brought up a good point, human design. And listener, go ahead and Google it. It's a wonderful process to help you understand who you are and who you be, just like the Enneagrams, things that help you understand better what your needs are. Because, listener, you could be sitting here going...
The Gene Keys is also similar,
The what?
The Gene Keys, it's Richard Rudd's work. He's built on the human design and taking it to another level.
Oh, well, I'm going to have the link for that in the show notes, listener, because I'm going to investigate that as well. But a lot of times we can be sitting here and we have these years of lived experiences, but we don't know how to connect the dots. We don't know how to leverage those things into what we're going to do next. And we want you off the couch. We want you feeling on purpose. This is what we need all humans to try and tap into. So, Ray, this conversation has been so delicious. Right. What are some wonderful final thoughts that you have for folks who are looking at their age and the ageism around them, their own internalized, indoctrinated ageist beliefs? How can we help them dissolve that? What final thoughts do you have for them?
Gosh, that's a really good question. Where should I start? I have lots, but I think proactive well-being as a rule for happiness is coming up to the top now, because I wrote in my books the 6 rules for happiness, and rule number 5 was about proactive well-being, because there are so many challenges in the modern world to remain healthy, because we're bombarded with social media, which massively damages our nervous system and things like this in a way we don't understand. And we just live in a toxic environment on every level. Food's toxic, water's toxic, mental diet is toxic, So we have to choose a much more radical response to this and be much more proactively in charge of our well-being in a way we've never done before, and do things that we never would consider before, like meditation practice, like walking, like like having good sleep every night, like switching off devices and televisions and phones. We've just got a whole new discipline to learn to stay well, let alone anything else. Forget big visions, just
It's
to
like,
do well.
yeah, go analog, everybody.
Yeah.
Give digital a break and go back to the analog world.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you've got the whole pharmaceutical industry on your back, trying to get you to take everything that they can invent. And I'd say,
right.
That's another whole debate, which I won't go into. But
right.
Being responsible and taking full ownership for your well-being is essential, absolutely essential. So that would be my first point of call.
And there's so many resources, folks. You can hop into Don't Be Caged by Your Age and tap the resource tab and scroll down through the many different resources, find the things that are in alignment for you. But also, as Ray has done many times, he feels the sensation of like, ooh, this feels right. And there is no wrong move. That's the most important thing that Ray and I can share with you as entrepreneurs. You always, mistakes are the best thing. Pull on threads and just go, oh, that was a lousy idea, right? Pull on that thread because now you're more informed. Like, well, I don't like that. And it helps you understand what you do like. And I am so thrilled that you joined us here and shared your wisdom and your insights. How can folks connect with you, follow you, engage with you, and continue to learn from you?
Well, most people go to lifewithoutatie.com. That's the website for the book. And there's loads of pictures there from the 14-year journey that I took because lots of readers asked me to put them up there. So I did. So lifewithoutatie.com is a good way. But I'm also very communicative on LinkedIn. That's where a lot of people find me, both of those places. And my book's on Amazon too. So there's loads of reviews on Amazon if people can read. If they want to know what other people thought of the story, they'll find out there.
I love that. Well, you are an inspiration. And listener, I'm going to just ask an obvious question, which is, wasn't that inspiring? Ray's story is such a powerful reminder that it's never too late to loosen the tie.
Yeah, definitely.
Literally or metaphorically. And design. Oh, go ahead. What?
I was going to say, weirdly, Ande, my niece got married last August, and so I went and wore a tie for the first time in 20 years with a jacket and shirt. It felt lovely, actually. I've got to say, I really enjoyed wearing it that day.
Yeah, it's great to put on the outfit, the costume occasionally, right?
Yeah.
But I want you, listener, to understand that you can design a life that truly fits who you are today. You deserve that, no matter what people tell you, because you're too old. We don't care that you have needs anymore and purpose. You do have purpose. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow Don't Be Caged by Your Age wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend who's ready to shatter a few age-related expectations of their own. Ray, thank you for joining me for such an inspirational and oh so delicious conversation. I loved our time together.
My pleasure.
And listener, until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and keep thriving. Why? Because the world needs you. Keep asking those questions, okay? And let the world give you those responses back, your intuition, your higher self. And do not forget to take care of your mental health. Mindset is everything for longevity and aging well. And I'm here cheering wildly for this journey with you. Wishing you a delicious day everywhere you glow. Cheers, everyone. And thank you, Ray, so much. Listeners, I'm so grateful you carved out time to tune in and grab the gems from this delicious conversation. Be sure to hop on over to Don't Be Caged by Your Age on LinkedIn or Instagram to share your thoughts about ageism and unretirement. Because in this space, your age doesn't define you, it refines you. If you are inspired by a story you hear, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, share, rate, and review the podcast. To receive an alert whenever a new show is posted, please join the Don't Be Caged by Your Age newsletter. Every month, you'll receive links to the podcast and helpful resources for creating possibilities for your unretirement days. Thank you for tuning in. I am so excited to hear how you found ways to thrive after 65. Waving from Boston, cheers.